So, good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
And it is a great turnout, and I appreciate the opportunity to chat with you for a couple of minutes before you get put to work, right? Because that's what we're all here for. What I wanted to do was just talk a couple of minutes about our economy, where we are, and how that relates to the workforce situation that we're in. So, I'm just going to go right into it. Anybody need a job? Anybody need an employee, right? Anybody see The Big Year? It was a great movie. It was kind of a comedy, but at the same time it was very sweet. It was all about these people going out looking for those elusive birds, whoever got the most counts of birds, and it's kind of where we are today, the lengths we have to go to find our workforce, right? They're going off to foreign countries to see different animals, and with us it's not the animals, it's the birds. Not the birds, the workers. So part of the reason that we're all struggling in finding workforce is the dynamics of what's going on in our economy. But you look at this, right now, Florida is so hot. We are the point where everybody is moving to. Smart Asset did a study last year, and they did a heat map on where people are moving to who have family incomes over $200,000 a year. Florida is the #1 location for where these people are moving. So we've got a big influx. I'm sure you're hearing it on the news, everywhere else. Just last week, Florida outpaced New York when it came to the size of our workforce. So we now have more people here working than they have in the state of New York. That's a big milestone for a state like ours. And then you look at the population growth just in the past 5 years. Florida has grown 6.4%. Volusia has grown faster than the state of Florida at 6.6%. Just in the past 5 years, we're talking about 35,000 new people, right? So with all of these people coming into our community, why are we having problems finding workforce? Right? You would think Florida is where everybody's moving to. We should have more than enough people for us to find decent employees, good employees. Well, our businesses have grown as well. So it's not just the people coming in, it's not your resource, that's the employee. The businesses themselves have grown as well. While the employees have grown at 6-point-some-odd%, businesses have grown at 15%. So they're just not in sync with each other from that standpoint. When you talk about the businesses that have grown the most, these numbers, the percents on the side, are based on 2019 numbers versus today. We wanted to go pre-COVID because anything in between there really just is not something that you can count for a trend, right? Those were extreme times. So looking at the end of 2019 versus the end of 2022, logistics in Volusia County, 130% growth. Hence the need for CDL licenses and everything else at the state school, right? The companies that we've seen a loss are information. So it's not IT, because that just could never be the case. It's publications, radio, newspapers, those kinds of things. Those industries are waning back in our area. Understandably so, because a lot of our news is now through social media, and that goes into professional services as opposed to information. But if you think about your particular industry and what growth there's been in your industry versus what growth there has been in logistics or some of the other, it might give you an idea of how people are moving around within those industries, right? Because with the amount of growth that we're having, you would think that there'd be plenty of employees to go around. They are shifting to different industries. Now, this particular slide, normally, I show this slide every quarter at our quarterly breakfast, but normally what I'm paying attention to and talking about is the blue. The blue here is those people who are employed. The yellow are those people who are currently unemployed, and the purple is the total workforce within our county. We have never had a workforce at the numbers that we have today. It's the highest we've ever been. And if you look at unemployment, unemployment is the lowest it's ever been. December was 2.5% for all intent and purpose. That's full employment. And then that little yellow space in between there, that's the 6,701 people that are available for you to hire unless you're moving them around from other jobs, right? So how do we find the employees that we need when trying to move on, right? Well, we tried building them, and I'm going to try something here just to see if everybody else goes the same place I do when you see this. Just love that. Everybody go there? Well, we did. We tried building them. It didn't work. Great. And when I say realistically today, trying to build them is AI. And while we are making progress in artificial intelligence and being able to get workforce that way or through automation, it's just not where it needs to be yet. And anybody who's been watching Alphabet with the snafus they've had on their most recent releases knows that we still have a way to go, right? Then we try enticing them. We tried, in a rush. There were actually communities that were paying people to move to their counties or their states to get jobs into the area. What did that do? We spent a lot of money. They took the money, they worked for a year. Some stayed, some didn't. But the fact is, the businesses still need to be able to be profitable. You still have a balance sheet. You can't pay prices that won't allow your business to move forward, right, and to grow. So there's got to be a balance there. So while we've seen some improvement, we're still not getting what we need as a result. We've tried researching and hunting them down individually, right? A lot of our businesses have been really creative. I was talking to somebody the other day. He owns a pizza shop. He needed a driver to deliver the pizzas. Put an ad in the paper, didn't get any news, reached out to everybody he knew, nothing. Talked to his church, nobody at the church. Finally, every night, instead of driving himself home, he called Uber. So he had a driver come, and on the ride home, he was interviewing the driver. And one of them ended up becoming his new pizza delivery person. All right? But you can't go out and individually pick up every single employee that you need, especially the size of some of these companies here. We've all used Recruiter for high-level positions, but for regular positions, it's a hard lift to try to do it that way. So, what does that leave us? What aren't we seeing? Same way these guys, out looking with the binoculars, trying to find anything, they've got a bird right there next to them that they can be looking at. What do we have here that we're not thinking about? And hopefully today, that's what we talk about. And what we figure out how we can touch those unknown or unseen potential employees. A couple of things that are going to be talking about with the professionals today when the panel gets up who really knows what they're talking about. One of the efforts we did, Volusia County Economic Development has teamed with CareerSource, and we are working to put together a software called GoDig that will be focused on our area, made available to the businesses to post your jobs. Also be made available, well, just our area businesses, but it'll go out and advertising and marketing all over to try to get people interested in moving to our area to apply for positions there. This software lets them apply with anonymity, so if they have jobs already, they don't have to be worried about somebody seeing that they're looking for a job, which is one of the struggles like on LinkedIn when you post looking for work and your boss sees it. Not always a good thing. And it also helps us because we're humans, we have biases. So by doing this, you don't know who the person is, whose skill sets you're looking at, you don't know their education, it's all skills-based. If they meet your skills, then you have the opportunity, if they're interested in your position, then you have an opportunity to meet with a person. So it puts skills above the person's race, or nationality, or education, or anything else. It's a very cool software program. I'm hoping once we get it set up, all the business here will take advantage of it. And it'll be free to the businesses. What's another thing? We've got the prison penalty, the stigma associated with that, right? If you look at this slide, they did a study from people coming out of prison, and whether or not they're able to find jobs. 6 months, 1 year, 2 year, 3 year, 4 years out, 65% are still having difficulty finding employment. We've got to find a way to change this. There's training programs like the reentry program that's offered by Volusia County Corrections. There's other programs out there. Not every position needs to have Secret Service level criteria associated with it. You have to be realistic, and these are people who you can change their lives by making opportunities available to them. Another thing is the unseen, peoples with disability. We have programs here in Volusia County that many of our businesses aren't taking advantage of. You're going to hear a great story about that today and how beneficial it is. When you look at this chart, 39.6% labor force participation rate. That's not because of a lack of willingness to participate. That's primarily because of a lack of being able to find the job. Now, we're better than we were last year. Last year we were 37.8. Hopefully next year we're higher with the participation rate. But just so that you know, the normal labor force participation rate right now that we're seeing among the general public, it's about 77, 78%. So we have a ways to go on that front. That's all that I have to talk to you about. If there's any questions, I'm happy to answer them, but I'm also going to be around if you want to stop over. Thank you.